Christopher Rosen with Gold Derby. I'm so pleased to be joined by Paul Tazewell, an Emmy Award winner and Tony Award winner, who is the costume designer for Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. Paul, I'm so excited to talk to you. I love the film, and I know Steven usually works with a lot of his same collaborators, and you are a newcomer into his, troop of department heads, I guess. So, can you talk a little about what that was like coming in with a fresh perspective, let's say, or how you worked with Steven in those early days, I guess, before you got even started, really.
Sure, Christopher. I am indeed. The West Side Story was my first film with Steven. I believe that I came onto his radar because of Hamilton, my work on Hamilton, and he reached out to me, or his people reached out to me, and then we had a meeting, and then I was given the honor of designing West Side Story, his version of. Like any new collaboration, we spent a little bit of time getting to know each other and understanding each other's sensibility. He was very clear about what his intent was with, his retelling of West Side Story. Both he and Tony Kushner, who wrote the screenplay. I hopped right on board. I mean, West Side Story has been a part of my life probably since the beginning of my interest and involvement with theater when I was in high school. It's been in my blood, also I've always loved the original design. So, in developing our version of West Side Story, I tapped into, my own sensibility and Steven's interest in making it feel a little more realistic, I guess. I mean, I think that it gives it, overall the take is, more information, having a, kind of a deeper, richer view of what was going on at that time, and and how to represent New York City in 1957. With that, I filled my coffers with as much research as possible and developed looks and presented those, and Steven really liked what I was doing, so I just kept going.
So we're I guess bunch of things there, but I wanted to touch on where the research, I guess, did you start, and what did you find super helpful, like beyond the musical, I guess? Like, did you go back to obviously the era, but where did you kind of begin when you were doing the research?
Well, with any production that I am designing, film or theater, I go, after I've ingested what the story is when it's set, what the year is and what the culture is, I try to find as many representations of that period and that culture as I can, specific to where we are. I mean, if with this, it was New York City. There's a lot of photography that's available from the time, mostly black and white, and then some that is color, which was very, very useful. Gordon Parks took a lot of photographs in and around New York City. Bruce Davidson was a photographer at that time that shot a lot of images of gangs in New York and in and around New York. So all of that was hugely useful and helpful. And then I, alongside of that, am looking at period research that might be from period catalogs. It might be actual photographs of real clothing from the period, and pulling all of those images together in developing what the look of the film might be. We used a lot of vintage clothes on our background. It was pretty much exclusively vintage clothes that we were able to rent and purchase for a background. And then because it's a musical, we ended up doing mostly made to order pieces for all of our main ensemble, and then the principals as well. Because of that, there was a lot of research that needed to go into making it as authentic as possible. And and with that, being mindful of who these people are, what their economic level is, making specific choices about their characters.
Can you talk a little about, like you mentioned that crafting music, obviously you have so much experience in musicals on Broadway and on television, obviously, and then this, when you're making costumes, like, and like you said, like doing those custom costumes for like the principal cast or like the main characters and stuff, how much, like, how do you have to go about that to make sure they're able to withstand, obviously, the physicality of the performance and the dancing, especially in West Side Story, where you have these elaborate dance scenes and like really, really physical work where the costumes have to like withstand that, but also remain like, you know, it's like, it just works. I guess, like, how do you think about that? How do you make sure that execute that, I guess?
Sure. I mean, you know, as you stated, I have a lot of experience dressing dancers and costuming, designing costumes for musicals. And you know, it is also connected to my sensibility. I mean, you know, you know, study dance. I understand what clothes and fabric, what they do when they're moving, and how to make you know, the clothing become an extension of the dancers' bodies. And how they need to function. And that's a big part of it. So, you know, in collaboration with my very, very talented the builders, the tailors and the dressmakers that built the clothes for West Side Story, we were about engineering the clothes to both look as accurate as possible to 1957, and also, as you were saying, withstand the rigor of the when you think about like America, that we shot over I don't know, maybe 15 or 13, 15 days, and you know, in you know, out of order, you know, over a period of time, and you know, with each of those days, that you know, we were shooting in the middle of summer, so it was really, really hot, you know, and there's a lot of wear and tear that goes into those clothes. And, you know, we relied on the maintenance crew to, you know, make them look as fresh as they needed to for every day and as consistent as possible. But, you know, as well, you know, I was relying on these shops who build for Broadway, much of their work is the costumes for Broadway. So they already know how to make, you know, build costumes that will withstand 8 shows a week for years and years, you know. So it's all of that, you know, collaboration and relying on, you know, really excellent builders to get pieces that really work.
Yeah. You mentioned America, obviously. I wanted to talk to you, and before characters, specific characters. Anita, obviously, played by Ariana DeBose in the film, is incredible. I love her look. And in America, obviously, she has this beautiful yellow dress, and like, you know, it just is so great. And obviously a shift from the Rita Moreno dress in the original. And I love that. And I guess, can you talk about how you came up with that look for Anita in the America sequence, and like, you know, what made you come up with, like, why yellow, and like, you know, the color, and how you thought about it?
Well, going back to, you know, West Side Story overall, the original film, which was done in 1961, you know, it's a beloved film, you know, and the, you know, the original Broadway show is beloved as well. And, you know, I knew that going in because I hold those same feelings towards that film, you know, and when I was, you know, imagining what Anita would wear for these different, you know, both for the Dance at the Gym and for America, I knew that it was going to come with a certain challenge to find a look, find a design that would feel as iconic as that purple dress that we all, you know and love, that was on Rita Moreno. You know, that it needed to embody that same moment, that same energy. What was useful, and I was fortunate that Tony and Steven decided that number would be placed in a different place in the story. You know, so it goes from, in the original or the 1961 film, that it's, you know, the America happens right after the Dance at the Gym. So it's the same dress that does these two very active, very present numbers. For America, it is a day in itself. It's a, it is Anita and her friends making their way through New York City, the neighborhood, potentially, San Juan Hill, which is, what is being depicted in Steven Spielberg's film, and also the sharks, Bernardo and the rest of the sharks, all of them coming together throughout this day, as well as and being joined by the community, the Puerto Rican community. So it fills a different moment, and as well, I needed to find something that was going to, really support and embody all the energy that is America. With that, I started looking at color and styles, and what could it possibly be as a day dress, and I landed on this yellow tone, and it's kind of a golden tone that for me it became a metaphor for the sun and for just this radiant energy. So that was where how we arrived at that.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I mean, like, it is, like you said, like the original purple dress is very iconic. And I feel like this one, I mean, we'll see, who knows, like, but I was like, this is an iconic look. It's just immediately like, oh my gosh, she looks so great. And it just is a great look. I know you can't you can't plan on creating something iconic, but I think you executed very, very well in that regard, I guess. I want to ask you, obviously you have Rita Moreno is in this film playing a new character, Valentina, who is like refashioned from the doc character from the original musical and stuff. I love her look as well. And I know you've kind of talked about how, I mean, I guess I've seen interviews with you, I guess, where you talked about like how coming up with that and like talking with her about how maybe that character would look. And I guess, can you talk a little about that, and specifically, I guess, how she's in pants and stuff? I thought that was like really a great note, because again, totally maybe unexpected, I guess, from that kind of character or just from the film in general. So I guess, can you talk a little about like dressing her and, working with Rita, I guess, to come up with the look?
Sure.
And how you guys did. Yeah.
I mean, it was a huge honor and joy to dress Rita. She's an amazing force, and so very smart. And I think that she realized what her position was within the story as Valentina, and the kind of character that she needed to embody. I designed originally, I came in with research and sketches that were more kind of, they're standard mature women, middle-aged women, older women in dresses, in shirtwaist dresses, and what I was seeing in a lot of the research, a woman her age would, what that woman might wear. And she, smartly, came to me and said, I'm thinking that maybe she wears pants. I mean, she's taken over running the, Doc's drugstore. She's a widow when we enter into the story, and she's wearing the pants, that Doc used to, not literally wearing his pants, but she is in control of this domain, and in control of this, actually what is a neutral domain for both gangs, in a way. And I think that it gives her, the Valentina, an energy and I think that it updates it in a way that allows us as modern audience members to enter into her story. I think that it just feels more familiar, yeah. And it's still period right. I mean, it's still period accurate for her to potentially wear those pants. It just says something slightly different about who the character might be. I mean, she's not, she's no one's grandmother. Right. She, is definitely there to, support these young people, whether they're, going off, or and doing things that are positive or not. I mean, she's there to try to set them on the right track.
Yeah, for sure. And I know so we were talking obviously like a lot of the looks are way different. I think I read maybe the only two that carried over, I guess, were like the Bernardo's red shirt in the opening, and then obviously the famous Maria dress, the white dress. And I guess I think that's another iconic costume. I think it's hard to have Maria without that dress, but I guess can you talk about your, getting to put your stamp on what that dress would look like and how you kind of like thought about putting the white dress for Maria in the early, when we first meet her character and stuff?
Sure. I mean, I think that, it was so very smart for Steven to request that. I mean, that was one of the first requests that he had, is that we hold on to that idea of the white dress for Maria because of, the innocence, the idea of innocence that it embodies, and also the connection to her culture, which is based in a Catholic culture, as well as how women are seen within potentially within the Latinx culture at that time, and her relationship to her brother, and I think that it makes sense with the age that she is. Also knowing and acknowledging the fact that Anita is a dressmaker. That's how she's making her living, and she's also doing piecework. She's making shirts and things like that, as well. So, I putting all of that together as an idea, I thought, oh, okay, well, they've got this dance that's coming up, or a need for a dress for Maria because she's newly come to New York City. What would potentially be designed by Anita? And so I designed a white dress that might be plausible for Maria. I think that the touch that's really just brilliant is to take the belt off of Anita and add it on to Maria because of what it says about Maria, kind of embracing her womanhood and launching into this journey as she matures into a woman. And I think overshadow or underscoring that is really important.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I love that so much, and I think that's a great touch with the belt. Last thing I want to ask you about, you talked about the gangs and stuff. I guess, and can you talk a little about how you dressed the Jets and how you thought about their look? Because obviously they're their economic standing is very low. I guess can you talk about how you kind of like thought about their clothes and whether they should look, and how obviously they look believably grimy and stuff. And I guess can you talk about like what you guys talked about and how you kind of went about that?
Sure. I mean, it's always in, with clothing, I'm always thinking about, comparisons, or, what are the comparisons and contrasts between, different characters, or, with this, different groups, what is the conflict, and how can I help to underscore that with the clothing? From the very beginning of the film, when we launch into the prologue, and we're introduced to the space, it's this land of rubble. It's a part of the city that's being broken down. It's been, the wrecking ball is the focal point of that first moment. And I think that is representative of their playground. It's where they are spending a lot of their time. And they're running through and getting messed up, and it's having an effect on their clothes. And so that becomes part of the story of their clothing, and therefore reflective of who the Jets are. The Jets are they're from broken homes. They are of a lower economic level, and they live lives where it's not important for them to dress well, or they want to dress cool, but they don't necessarily need to look clean and pressed. And it's just what their day is. Conversely, with the Sharks, I mean, the Sharks are a community, the Latinx community. They're aspirational. They've migrated from Puerto Rico. Their intent is to make a better life for themselves. And they'll do whatever they can to make a better life for themselves, and they're holding down jobs, and they're doing what they can. They're shining shoes. They might be making shoes at a cobbler. They're working as grocers. They are kind of adding to their community, and at the same time a part of this gang. So it's that contrast that was also part of our story as we were telling West Side Story.
Yeah, it's really great hearing you talk about this. Paul Tazewell, costume designer for West Side Story. I love the film, and I think your costumes are incredible. So it's really great hearing you speak about them. Thank you so much.
Christopher, thank you very much.